Okay, this is a video of the practice test number 2. I'm going to go over the problems. I know you have the answer key, but like I mentioned in class, if you're not sure about how to get the answers, if you're stuck on one or more, you could at least view the video. I think what I'm going to do is, once I'm done editing, I'm going to put in the description below the video the time where each section will begin. So, you might have an order of operations down, but you might need a little help with distributive property. So look for those headings, and then I'll put the time when the video on that portion begins, and then you can skip, the stuff that you already know. Okay, here we go. I've got order of operations, and it's a good idea to write down the word PEMDAS. This is an acronym. It helps us understand what to do first. So in this first problem we have addition, division, and multiplication. Of course we're going to do multiply and divide first, and when you have multiply and divide together, you're just going to go left to right. So instead of adding first, we want to divide. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 times 2. So I'm going to just bring down everything else. And again, I want to multiply before I add. That's going to give me 8. So 4 plus 8 should give you 12. In this next one, we've got subtraction, multiplication, and addition. We also have parentheses. So we want to take care of the parentheses first. 3 plus 4 is 7. So 5 minus 2 times 7. Again, you want to multiply first. Oftentimes I'll see students subtract first because they don't think this is multiplication, but when you see a number next to a parentheses without an operation showing, you can assume that's multiplication. So negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. Bring down the 5. Now I'm subtracting. If you want to rewrite this as 5 plus negative 14, that's okay. It's the same thing. We're still going to be subtracting, and it will be a negative 9. The next one looks like a fraction, but really this line indicates division. Before we can divide, however, we have to figure out what's on top, and then once we have one number, we can divide by 2. Again, we're going to multiply before subtracting. So we have 4 minus, so we've got negative 6 times 7, that's negative 42. That's where this negative comes into play. And this is the same thing as 4 plus negative 42, which is going to give you negative 38. Now you could divide. You're going to get negative, not 9, 38. So that should give you negative 19. The last one in this, or no, actually not the last one in this section. This one, notice there's 2 grouping symbols. We've got parentheses and brackets. You always want to go on the inside and work your way out. Also note the different operations. We've got multiplication, subtraction, multiplication, and addition. So if I take care of this one first, I'm going to get a 5. So let me rewrite everything else. Okay, now within the parentheses, oh, that's a 3, not a 2, excuse me. So 5 times bracket 2 minus 3 times 5, closing. So again, we want to multiply before we subtract. This is multiplication. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. Bring down that 2 and the 5. Now we've got the last group we want to take care of. 2 minus 15, that's the same thing as 2 plus negative 15, or negative 13. And we want to multiply that by 5, and I believe that's going to be a negative 65. Negative 65. Yep, I was correct. Okay, let's keep moving. And you know, if you feel like I'm going too slow, you could slow the speed, or you can just watch it again. I'm trying not to spend too much time, just want to go over each problem and then move on. This one, notice we've got some exponents. We've got a couple with exponents. Let's evaluate those exponents before we do any operation. So 2 to the 4th power, that's going to give you 16, positive 16. 2 to the 3rd is an 8. We're going to just bring down this 10 divided by, now negative 4 to the 4th power, or excuse me, negative 1 to the 4th power. Notice this exponent is even, so when we have an even set of negatives, like negative times negative, you're going to get a positive. So we're going to just get a positive 1 here. Now we've got add, subtract, divide. You want to divide first, so that's going to give us a negative 10. So let's bring that other stuff down. Now we've got add, subtract. We're just going to go left to right, so that'd be 24 minus 10 equals 14. Alright, now we're going to simplify. Now if you want, you could write it out in expanded form. It's negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, and one more negative 2. Notice the exponent is odd. And so what's going to happen is our answer is going to be negative. So, and if you're not sure, negative times a negative is a positive, times a negative is a negative, times a negative is a positive, times a negative is a negative. So we're going to have negative 32. 9 to the 1st power, of course, is 9. Or this 1 just basically says we're just going to have one of them. But number 3 was an area problem. The formula for area of a square is side squared. So we just plugged in the 14. And then when you multiply 14 times 14, you should get 196. So let's see about like that. 4, 1. Yep, 196. And that's going to be inches squared. So area equals 196 inches squared. Next we have evaluate. That's when we plug in the values of the variable into the expression and then solve. So I'm just going to rewrite this plugging in the value of negative 5. Now here we have 9 minus 4 times negative 5. So I'm going to actually take care of this multiplication problem. 2 negatives make a positive, so that's 9 plus 20 equals 29. Now the next one we've got, oops, I forgot to write in that x. There we go. We have 15x squared minus 2x, and x is going to equal 3. So 15 times 3 squared minus 2 times 3. Okay. Now we're going to evaluate the exponent. 3 times 3 is 9, so 15 times 9 minus 2 times 3. I don't really know what 15 times 9 is, so let's multiply that. And you might already know it. That's going to be 45. Whoops. 45. And then 9 plus 4 is 13. So 135 minus 6, and that should give you 129. All right, let's see. Moving on, we've got x cubed minus 4x over x times x minus 3, and x is going to be a negative 2. So let me rewrite that. We've got negative 2 cubed minus 4 times negative 2 all over negative 2 times negative 2 times, or minus 3. Okay, so remember when we had that simplified one and it was, what was it, negative 2 to the 5th power? That was an odd exponent. We have another odd exponent here with a negative number. So we're going to have a negative 8. Let me write that, negative 8. And negative 4 times negative 2 is a positive 8. Now, notice this here is the same thing as negative 2 plus negative 3. Okay? So you could, if you don't see that you're combining your negatives here, certainly rewrite it, because this is a lot easier to see. But eventually you're going to be able to see it this way and recognize, okay, I'm just adding my negatives together. So we're just going to combine. We get a negative 5. So negative 2 times negative 5. That's going to give you a positive 10. Okay. Now, when we add a or the opposite of a number, so negative 8 plus its opposite, we're going to get 0. Okay, and when you divide 0 by 10, your answer is going to be 0. Okay, so that's 10, or excuse me, that's going to be 0. Now we're doing distributive property. We're going to take this number, this factor, and multiply it to each term within the parentheses. So that will give you 8x plus 36. Now we haven't done too many of these problems, and I'm thinking on the test I'll probably take out any question that has this. Normally, when we're adding x's, like x plus x, we're going to have 2x. Okay, but when we're multiplying x times x, that becomes x squared. So in this case, notice we're multiplying. So we've got x times x. So we're going to get x squared, and then we've got our coefficients. So negative 5 times 3, that will give you a negative 15, and then x times x is x squared. Now we've got the negative 7y, and so negative times a negative is a positive 35xy. And then that's your answer. We can't combine these anymore. Now the third one, notice we don't have any number outside here. We just have this negative sign. So you can kind of assume that that's a negative 1. Negative times a positive, that's going to be a negative 2x squared. Negative times a positive 4x is a negative 4x. Negative times a positive 10 is a negative 10. And again, we can't combine any of those, so that's our answer. Now we're simplifying, meaning we're combining like terms. And notice that all the terms are the same. They have an x in them, raised to the same power. So I think what I'm going to do is change this to addition. 14x plus negative 11x plus 5x plus negative 7x. And then I might just change things around a bit, put all my positives. That's commutative property. You don't necessarily have to do it that way. I'm just kind of modeling how you would do it if you chose to do that. It's good to have that option. 14 plus 5 is 19x. And then negative 11 plus negative 7, that's negative 18x. Now when I 19x plus a negative 18, that's really, I'm taking away 18. My answer is just going to be 1x or just x. You don't normally write 1x, you just write x. Okay, we're almost done. In this one, you get to do a little distributive property before simplifying. So that's kind of a bonus. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this negative 3 and multiply it to both. I'm going to just rewrite everything else. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times y is negative 3y. Now I'm going to go ahead and change all of this to addition. So 4x plus negative 9y plus negative 3x plus negative 3y. And now notice I have x's and y's. I'm going to put my x's together and group them. That's commutative property, and then grouping with associative property, and then I'll do the same thing with the y's. So I've got 4x plus negative 3x plus negative 9y plus negative 3y. Okay, so 4 take away 3, that's going to leave me x. I'll put it here. And then negative 9 plus negative 3, that's going to be 12. Negative 12y. So negative 12y. I'll write it here. Negative, sorry about that, x minus 12y. All right, the last one, you get to do distributive property twice, and then you get to simplify. So exciting. So we've got 5 times 2x, that's 10x. 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. Here we have negative 3, so negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Notice I've got some x's and just plain old numbers. I'm going to first change it to addition. 10x plus negative 35 plus negative 3x plus negative 12. Now, you didn't necessarily have to do it that way. You could have just moved the terms next to each other, and I'll show you that here in a minute, but let me finish it this way and then I'll show you another way. So now I'm going to put my x's together, so 10x plus negative 3x, and that will be one group, and then my negatives are going to be here on the right. Okay, 10 minus 3 is 7x. 35 plus 12 is 47, so that's a negative 47. And notice we can't do any more. That would be it. Now, I was telling you that you could do it differently. So if we just look at this, let me use a different color. We'll go with purple. So what we could have done, instead of changing it to addition, we could just rewrite grouping the x's and the numbers together. So 10x minus 3x minus 35 minus 12. And then, you know, if you want to group them like that, you can. I'm not going to group them. We could just figure that out, 7x. And then, now if you know this scenario here really means we're combining our negatives, you could just add them. But if again, like I said earlier, if that's still confusing to you, then just change this part. I'm having a hard time writing today. So that's going to be negative 47, just like what we got in the other. So 7x minus 47. Okay, just a different way of doing it if that's a lot of writing there. But you know, it helps if you understand the process. It's okay to do it that way. Okay, the last part is translating. The first one is 9 more than twice a number. 9 more than, so that means it's going to go after, so 2n plus 9. The second, 15 less than a number, so less than means it's going to go after, the number is going to go first. And then the last one is the quotient of a number squared in 3. Quotient means division. A number squared, that's the first that's described, that's going to be the on top. So n squared, and 3 is going to be on the bottom. So like I said, look in the description box, or hopefully you looked in the description box by now, and you can find the area that you want to review and ignore all the rest. Okay, I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Bye-bye.